Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lego Rebel. And I'm Vic. And this is my assistant Vic. And there's also Roger, who is currently manning the camera. Hi. Now in today's episode, we are going to show you a custom monster forest MOC. Or really just a spooky or enchanted or not normal forest. Anyway, now if you're wondering why I decided to do this, well, I had this weird idea surrounding the Boogeyman minifigure that he might be reading stories to monster children at a monster kindergarten or playcare or something. But since I did not want to build that, I decided to do the next best thing and have him reading spooky stories around a campfire in the middle of the woods. But they couldn't be normal woods, they had to be monster woods since I already made normal woods before. So I guess, without further ado, we shall show you the minifigures. Now the first minifigure in today's lineup is the Boogeyman. Now this is the Boogeyman minifigure from series 27 of the LEGO minifigure series, and apparently this is what LEGO thinks the Boogeyman looks like. Or at least what they could make regarding the fact that a lot of the Boogeyman images online are kinda creepy and not exactly quote-unquote kid-friendly. But anyway, I also gave him that new dark red book piece that says "Boo" on the front. You could see it better in one of my past videos, but back to the point. I really am glad that they made the dark red book piece because of Gravity Falls and because of journal number 3, which is dark red. Yeah, that's why I'm excited about the book piece. But overall, it is a pretty fun minifigure, and I am a bit concerned because the Boogeyman's mouth is kind of on his chest a little bit. Now the next minifigure in today's lineup is this werewolf minifigure. Now this is the Werewolf by Night minifigure from the second Marvel CMF series, and I admit it looks kind of horrible. To me it just kind of looks like a hairy man with teeth and toe claws rather than a werewolf, and also ripped up dark green pants. But it was what I had to work with, so I decided to use him here. Plus I wanted to add a werewolf in this since I thought it would fit. Also, this is the same werewolf guy that I used in my Halloween houses video. It just wanted to say that real quick. And while he certainly could have been improved on and made less man looking, he still is a pretty fun minifigure. Even though he still just looks like a hairy man with weird claws and teeth and ears. Now the next minifigure in today's lineup is this Flyman. Now I believe this minifigure comes from series 14, though I got this minifigure at my local Bricks and Minifigs that opened more recently. And if you're wondering why I decided to add him, I thought he would be a fun inclusion. And I decided to put him in the build talking to the werewolf man since they're probably just having a chill conversation listening to the Boogeyman read his spooky stories and stuff. And overall, I do like him and his claw hand, and I do think he is a pretty cool minifigure. Definitely a step up for the werewolf guy. Now the final minifigures in today's lineup are this witch and this skeleton. Now, if you're wondering why the skeleton is headless, well, I want to add a fun little inclusion into the build, so I decided to add a tiny little scene where the witch had stolen the skeleton's head and was laughing while he was running into a tree trying to get his head back. And if you're wondering if the witch, which is the witch minifigure from the Dungeons and Dragons minifigure series, by the way, has a name, her name's Hazel. And I guess the skeleton's name is Morty or something. I don't know, I'm trying to think of a more normal name that doesn't immediately sound like Mr. Bones or something like that. And while I technically did use 75% of the Hazel minifigure, or at least I'm naming her Hazel, in, again, the Halloween houses video I made. I still think these two definitely do add a somewhat funny inclusion to the mix, you know? Now onto the actual build. Now, this build wasn't originally centered around a bunch of monsters talking around a campfire and having a good old, well, mostly good old time. This was originally my improvement of the Lego Harry Potter Forbidden Forest set. And I actually stole the trees from that set. And the reason I was improving on the set is because I just didn't really like the way the base was formatted. It was just a bunch of different joints of the base segmented together using hinge bricks, and I just didn't really like the look at that. And while we're on the topic of Harry Potter, I just want to briefly talk about how Hufflepuff is one of, if not the most underrated house at Hogwarts. Now, a lot of you watching this video are probably Slytherins or Ravenclaws or even Gryffindors. Heck, my mom's even a Gryffindor. She took a quiz. And if you're like me, then you are a humble Hufflepuff. Yes, I'm a Hufflepuff. Deal with it. But there are some, if not a lot, of people who seem to think that Hufflepuff is just the leftover house, or the house you go to if you're not a Smarty McSmartpants, recklessly brave, or cunning and kinda racist. But that is not the case. Hufflepuff is known for loyalty, kindness, friendship, hard work, or a good work ethic, as well as, well, a love of peace, or not a love of fighting, which that last part I definitely do relate to. And I guess it probably doesn't help that in one of the books, J.K. Rowling did kind of say that Helga Hufflepuff just took on the rest. Yeah, that definitely did not help our case. But still, Hufflepuff is one of the more underrated houses, and we are not just the leftover group. And we are not just full of unremarkable people who are terrible at Quidditch. Well, I guess to be fair, I am kind of horrible at sports and I'm not really that interested in sports. But still, that doesn't account for all of us. I mean, look at Newt Scamander. He wrote Fantastic Beasts and cataloged dozens and hundreds of different types of fantastic beasts. And if you need another example, well then look at Tonks, who fought in the Battle of Hogwarts after she just had a baby. If that was my mom, she would probably, well, be looking after her children, since that's probably the more responsible thing to do. But still, she fought in the Battle of Hogwarts after she had just given birth. And there's also Cedric Diggory, who is probably the first person that comes to mind when you think of Hufflepuff. But in the maze during the Triwizard Tournament, he was wanting Harry to take the cup at the end of the maze. Even though he wanted him for himself, he still put Harry first. That just goes to show how good Hufflepuffs are and how underrated we are. And the fact that I even have to bring up notable figures in Hufflepuff House just goes to show that people just don't give us enough recognition. Now, I might be being a bit biased since I am a Hufflepuff myself, but still, this house needs more, well, recognition. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. Well, back to the build. I wanted to create a more actual base for this MOC, and if you're wondering if this looks a bit familiar, well, I did make a Black Panther MOC a while ago, and that was actually based off this MOC. I've had this MOC for a while, and I've just had the idea to add the monsters and stuff in here because for some reason I've become fascinated with the idea of a monster summer camp. I have no idea why, and maybe I'll do something with that idea eventually, who knows. But back to the build. On this side of the build, you can see everything from a slightly different angle, and you can also see, I forget what it's called, but it's those weird pixie fairy things that were hanging Neville on the chandelier in one of the books and or movies. The blue little thing floating up there. And I decided to add it since I thought it would be a cute addition. And it was already in the set to begin with, so why not add it? It does fit the overall atmosphere. And this is the back side, where you can see the back side of the bluish spider web. Not entirely sure why it's blue, it was just included like that in the set. And you can also see a purple fallen leaf from one of the trees on the ground, as well as those transparent or pearly transparent blue studs on the ground back here as well. If you're wondering what those are, I'm not entirely sure. They were just in the set and I thought they looked cool, so I decided to add more of them all around on the ground, you know? And from this side, you can see one of the mushrooms, which are glow in the dark, by the way, along with the spider. And you can also see Hazel the witch stealing the poor skeleton's head. And the skeleton probably didn't do anything to her, and she's probably just doing it for fun or something. And overall, I really am happy with how this build turned out, and I do think it's one of my cooler builds. Also, I do want to quickly apologize to any Slytherins watching this if I accidentally offended you by saying that Slytherins were kind of racist. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying that because a large majority of the wizards and witches during Harry's time at school and past that in Slytherin House were all about pure blood superiority or dumb stuff like that. I'm not trying to offend you, I'm just saying that because of a lot of the Slytherins that were in the house during that time. And while we're on the topic of houses again, I do just want to quickly mention that Hufflepuff House has actually had the least amount of dark wizards in it. Take that, Gryffindor! Or I guess not, since you're still kind of cool. And while we might not be as smart as Ravenclaw, you know what we do have? A consistent house mascot. Sorry, I just wanted to say that real quick. But I guess now on to the rest of your program. Well, that's the build. Please consider to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace out.